Okay, good morning, folks. So today is kind of an interesting day. Today is Wednesday, July 14th. I'm uploading this on Thursday because I am not surrendering anything for my waterfront series. But today, as of the day I'm recording this, it's July 14th, which marks 4 months since the incident. Which, if you know cats, you know what I'm talking about. So, I'm just here to talk about some of the things that have happened since then, and some of the takeaways that I've gotten from that. So, where do I start? So, really the whole thing was just brought on. If you haven't seen the original video I made, what a week it's been. Basically, to sum it up, what happened was so it was early in the morning, and Moon wanted to get into the laundry closet, because sometimes she likes to go up there and scratch the wall. And I figured, okay, I've done this a million times before, where I just open the door, she tries to go up, but when I open the dryer door, it scares her and she runs away. And that's usually the fix to the problem, which it's been how it is for years now. So, what happened was, when I went to open the door, my head didn't really process how close she was to the door, and the fact that her paw was actually under the door. I had sort of processed it in my head, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna open this door really slowly. But the thing with our doors is that they're not handle doors. Well, at least those doors aren't. They have these like little sticking things, these little sticking balls that kind of slide into a groove. And once the door locks in, the little ball is in that groove and it kind of holds the door in place, and it also has a little spring to go up and down when you pull out the door. But the problem is the tension on those tends to go out of whack sometimes. So my solution to that is to adjust them, and unfortunately it was adjusting season, and that door was very stiff, and it swung a little too hard onto her foot, and immediately she was pissed at me. And I had sort of spent the next couple weeks stuck in my room, because anytime she saw me, she would freak out basically immediately. The first week was kind of interesting though, because the first day she had to come back. So this happened on a Sunday, and on that Monday she had come into my room early in the morning after my mother had left for work. I heard her scratching at the door. I sort of played with her a little under the door with this little stick thing she has, and I crept the door open. I just like unlocked it and just left it there, just so she could come into the room on her own pace. And she did after a couple minutes, and she was in my room for a little while. And so she goes to sit under this little side dresser thing I have, and I'm like, I gotta use the bathroom. So I get up, and she gives me this look, but sorry, I don't know what that was. But so she gives me this look, and I'm like, okay, let me be cautious about this, because it doesn't look like she approves of this all too much. So I get to the bathroom, and she comes in, and she's calm. She's very calm. I even scratch her. That was the first time I had scratched her that day, because she had actually sat on my lap, but I was kind of too afraid to scratch her, because, she was right there, so I wasn't about to risk anything. So I finish using the bathroom, and I get up to leave, and I step out into the hallway, and she sees me, and she freaks the fuck out, and we go our separate ways for the day. The next day, it was interesting because she had come in early, and I was actually able to keep her there in my room, in and out, most of the day. I had been sitting down, granted, because I felt like, she'd probably be more comfortable with me just sitting down for whatever reason, because she gave me some dirty eyes when I was in bed. So eventually I go to lay down, because I'm getting tired of the chair and I just want to lay down for a minute. And in that minute, she comes in. And she sees me. And she freaks the fuck out. Not a good start to that week. So then, Wednesday rolls around, and Wednesday was sort of the same, where it kind of ended in her freaking out. I forget what the details of that day were, but Thursday was the next interesting one, because Thursday it started out with her scratching at my door at about 2 in the morning. Because it sort of came to the point where she was starting to get comfortable enough with me to where she wanted to be around me, but not so much that I could leave my door open and sleep with her coming in and out of my room the way she was with me on my bed. That was kind of a no-go type of thing. And I'd kind of learned the hard way because, you know, that's just how that week was. So, and I sort of lost track there for a second, so I'm actually just going to skip over to Friday. If there's anything I missed, I'll put it in the description when it comes to that day. So, Friday rolls around. Friday, she's scratching at my door even earlier in the morning. And it was kind of okay at first, but then my stomach hurt, and she was in the room. And I forced myself to get up and just go to the bathroom, and that freaked her the fuck out. And that was her biggest freak out of the week in that moment, even bigger than the ones before it. So that kind of wrapped up that week, and then came in the weekend, and from that point on, it really wasn't much anything special. It was kind of sort of testing the waters for a good month, I'd say. And I'd say rolling into May, after about a month and a half, is when I noticed her really staying in my room more often. And she was even okay with me standing, because I'd been, because what would happen is at 3 in the fucking morning, I would, rolling into the next couple weeks at 3 in the fucking morning when she would pound on my door, I would let her in. And I would have to sort of stand by the door to make sure it wouldn't close and kind of lock her in, because sometimes she would push on the door from the inside, and that would push it back in, and that would close it. And I'm not about to make her feel cornered, because, you know, you can picture in your head what I'm trying to say here. But yeah, so that week, she had seen me standing. So rolling into May, she was okay with me standing, and she was actually starting to become okay with me walking around slowly. And the best part was I could even lie down. Because one night I decided to test the waters. I decided to open my door. This was about 8 o'clock at night. And I let her come in, and I decided I was going to lay on my bed the whole time and see how she would react. So she came in, and she was a little startled at first, but over the next 2 hours or so, she got warmed up to it. And at that point, I felt really, really confident that we were making good progress here. So it was kind of just a continuation of that for the next little while. And then the next part of the incident happened. So we're doing good, and during this time she had lights coming onto the balcony, and we had felt confident that she wouldn't jump off it because she had just been on it so many times, and we were like, okay, she's not stupid. So one day I ordered some lunch, and it came, and she was like, hey, can you open the door? Can you open the door? And I'm like, sure, I'll open the door. So I opened the door, and I eat my lunch. And then by the time my lunch is finished, I go to the sofa, because I'm just watching TV. This was in the living room, by the way, right next to the balcony door. And I looked outside, and I'm like, I don't see her. Maybe she's by this little blind spot where the brick wall is, towards the end of the glass door, because the glass door doesn't go wall to wall in that section. There's a little bit of seeing area that I can't see in. But after a couple of minutes, something in my head said, this ain't right. And I decided to go onto the balcony, and I didn't see her, and panic set in right away. And that's And immediately when the panic set in is when I started hearing her meows. And immediately I was able to pinpoint her being in the balcony under us, where the lady downstairs was. And I have a video on that incident in and of itself. I'll link that in the description below. But my biggest fear in that moment was, is she under a car? Is where she is somewhere where she can easily run away from me? That was my biggest concern in that moment. And luckily, things turned out the way they did. The stars sort of aligned in that moment. It was one of those moments where the build-up to it, everything had to go horribly wrong for it to end up this way. But everything also had to go perfect for me to get the outcome that I wanted, which is what we got. And it seemed after that, even though there was tension for the first couple hours, there was major tension for the first couple hours after I got her home, because she was unsure as to what the fuck just happened. But so that tension actually got resolved in about the hour, and I remember her coming into my room and just eyeing me up and not really giving a fuck while I recorded that story. I seem to remember something along those lines. But I kind of knew at that point that we were making really good progress, even though my adrenaline was still running at that point, 100 miles an hour. To see her just so calm at this point, I was like, okay, this is nice. But then there were some negative casualties in the last month and a half that I kind of had to learn the hard way about, and it was sort of temporary setbacks, in the sense that when I went to use the bathroom, she came in right as I was flushing the toilet, and she was never too akin to that sound. I remember the first couple days after we moved in, she would always run away from the toilet when it flushed. And I was like, okay, it doesn't seem like she likes that sound. And usually what I would do is I would look out for her before I flushed, because I was like, she doesn't like the sound, maybe it'll scare her. But I got up and flushed the second she came in the doorway, because she was sort of behind this little wall next to the side closet, next to the bathroom. And she came in the second I flushed, and she freaked out. Not a lot of fun. That incident actually got resolved within the day. Within the day, she was back to normal. But the bigger one was, it turns out she also doesn't like my closet. For whatever reason, she'll go in my closet happily. But if I'm near the closet, it's not a nice thing. Because when I would like stick, because I noticed initially, no, this was after the fact. So what had happened initially was I had to put some stuff in my closet, and this was on like a lower little section of the closet, these drawers towards the floor. So I was just sitting there putting some stuff away, and we had this chair. I don't know if it's been in any of my videos, but we had this chair that Moon liked to scratch a lot, and we were getting rid of it. For the time being, it was in my room. So Moon was perched on the chair at the time, and I was just on the closet floor getting everything arranged. And I get up, and she loses her shit. And this did not get resolved in the day. This got resolved by the end of the week. And I don't mean like this was on a Friday and it got resolved by a Sunday. I mean literally 6-7 days later is when everything finally started getting back to normality. And that week I did lose a lot of sleep because she was pounding at my door at 3 in the fucking morning. And she couldn't make up her mind if she liked me or not at that point. But here we are 4 months later after many trials and tributes and all that great shit. I'd say we've made good progress. I have more or less total mobility again. I can do whatever the fuck I want at home. She doesn't judge me. Sometimes she'll give me some weird eyes. Sometimes she gives me some meows that I'm not sure if they're aggressive or if they're worried or if they're just her being her. Because I was going to mention this a second ago, but it slipped my mind, so I'll mention it now. When I go near the closet, if she sees me, she'll give me some distressing meows, like, hey, what are you doing? Hey, don't do that. That's scary. I don't want you to do that. So she would give me those distressing meows, but she wouldn't freak out like she did the first time. So I think little by little, she's starting to realize that I'm not a threat to her. I can actually talk around her now, too, because that week, where everything had happened, she was in my room the second day, and I had told my mother had asked me a question from across the hall, and I just responded to her, yeah, in a regular pitch, not like yeah, just like yeah. And she was on my bed at the time, and I was by my closet, and she had another freak out. So that week was not the nicest, considering all the freakouts, and she was also banging my door at 2 in the morning. And I lost a lot of sleep that week. It was not very fun, and I'm not looking forward to doing that again. Hopefully that doesn't happen again. But here we are now, 4 months later. I'd say we're in a good position. Like I said, I have free range to do just about whatever the fuck I want besides flushing toilets and being by my closet doors. But the solution to that is really just to, if I know I'm going somewhere, what I do is, if she's in my room, I wait for her to leave, and then I'll immediately get the stuff out of my closet and just leave it on my chair until I have to go, because she's totally fine with me changing clothes. She's just not fine with me getting my clothes or putting my clothes away. And when I have to use the bathroom, what I do is I can flush, and then I'll stand at the I'll stand by the sink counter, and just wait till the toilet finishes taking on water. And when it's quiet, I'll leave, because she doesn't mind it when it's quiet. So I've been figuring out all these little tricks to be able to get around her rage, so to speak. So I say we've made good progress in that sense. I have my life back pretty much 100%, and the little things that I can't do, I've found ways to get around. Maybe within a couple months, I can actually live my life 100% normally and be by my closet or by the toilet again. We'll have to wait and see. But for now, 4 months into the incident, I'd say we're doing well. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed.